Hello, this is Dana and welcome to the Orchid Hut. Today's video is going to be a repotting of a Latoria type Dendrobium Roy Tokunaga, and it's also going to be some life stories and some of my recent life-related woes. It seems like right now I'm just supposed to be managing a lot of curveballs, and so as we get into the orchid repotting today, I'll explain a bit more about that. Okay, but the orchid stuff first here. So here is Roy, and it's a very, very tall orchid, and it's been very top heavy, and it has become a little bit of a challenge because it does like to topple over. It had two bloom spikes that were beginning to fade just within the last few days. And so this morning I cut those off of the top of this longest cane. And it's got 3 canes that still have leaves, and then it has 2 smaller canes closer towards the bottom of the pot that don't have any leaves anymore. And I've had this orchid in my care for a number of months, probably since late last fall or so. And now it has started to put some new roots at the top of the pot. Hopefully the camera can pick up on that. There's mostly right down there. And then it also has some new roots coming out of the bottom of the pot. So it's a good time to go ahead and repot. The media that it's in is clearly old, and we're gonna get rid of that, get some fresh media going on, and then cross my fingers because I also think there's a new little growth starting right there where my finger is. So along with the new roots and the new cane growth, this is a great time to go ahead and get started. Now I have also soaked this orchid to make the roots more pliable. I want to try to get that new root out of the bottom of that pot without it breaking off. I don't know how successful I'll be, but I'm going to try to be very careful. And today what I've chosen for bark is I'm using my Dendrobium Repot Me orchid mix, but I had a little bit of more coarse orchid media sitting aside in a cup, and I mixed that in because what I'm seeing in the existing pot is a little bit chunkier than what my Dendrobium mix is, so I just kind of mixed that in for good measure. And I've got 2 pots here, kind of waiting to see what works out best. This clear square pot is the same size as the green pot that the orchid is in right now, but of course it's clear, so you'd have a better chance to see the root system. And I'm kind of assuming that the root system's not going to be so extensive that it won't fit back in a pot of the same size. But if for some reason I have trouble with that, my backup pot is this round pot, which is slightly larger. So we'll have to just see what works out best. All right, so lots of, good new roots here on the top of the pot. And I'm going to try to get this out of here without disturbing anything. And one of the things I might choose to do here is so that, and these cutters have already been sterilized, so that these dead roots don't prevent the orchid from pulling out. I'm going to go ahead and clip those because some of these roots have been here a while and they have died back, which is fine and expected. But I'm going to try to do my best to save that new root right there. And maybe by cutting some of these older ones away, it'll come out of the pot a bit easier. Let's check this one. Yeah, this one's dead too. This is a new one, but it's a little bit smashed. All right, let's see how that does. this one's gonna have to be sacrificed. Oh, there it goes. And we have success. Okay, so I managed to get that out without ruining those new roots. Ooh, look at those good new roots right here. Good new roots here. Okay. Ooh, lots of good new roots right here. Okay, so ideally those new roots don't get disturbed. I'm gonna try to pick off some of this old stuff and just shake out the old media first. I am beginning to hear some faint thunder in the distance. See how this was really chunky with the sponge rock? I'm beginning to hear some faint thunder in the distance. We have gotten the tiniest bit of rain the last few days. Not really enough for me to be able to turn my soaker hose off from around the foundation of the house, but still we'll take all of the little showers we can get. It does help the lawn stay a bit more happy. Okay, so as I am carefully picking out some of this old media and old moss, I will tell you about what has been going on, the woes in life. And I almost feel like I need to start, like, go all the way back to like June of 2020, long before the Orchid Hut even existed on YouTube as a channel. So rewind back to June of 2020. My parents were recently, my elderly parents, were recently in an assisted living facility for about 1 month when the pandemic struck and everything went on lockdown. Okay, everybody knows those stories because we've all lived it, right? Well, by the time we got to June of 2020, both of my parents had contracted COVID from a caregiver that came into the building, the senior living facility where they lived. And, you know, that was back when we were still wondering how the darn thing was spreading, and, you know, nobody really knew what to do to take proper precautions, and there were no vaccines, and if you ended up in the hospital, they weren't even really sure how to take care of you. Well, back then, June 2020, my mom did end up in the hospital in ICU and then in a skilled nursing facility for like 10 weeks trying to recover from that. My dad was also sick, but they were denying letting anyone come in to take care of him. And of course, I was locked out from going in and doing the same thing. And because I had been around them to take them to doctor's appointments when they were starting to get sick, I had COVID as well. And then after about a week, I passed it to my husband, and well, we were all in dire straits back in June, July of 2020. Bad, bad times. Well, fast forward now to July of 2022, and it is like deja vu in a bad way. So my parents, of course, are still in a senior living facility. Another caregiver came to work sick, spread COVID around, and before they even realized what was happening, of course, I was exposed to my parents, who were probably contagious. My mom came down with COVID first. I came down with COVID second. That's why my voice sounds this way. And my dad came down with COVID third. Well, so now I'm having to like do everything by phone to try to take care of them. The good news is now, of course, that we've been vaccinated, but they're saying, you know, with these new strains, that it doesn't really help you out all that much. My parents, because they qualify, they're older and they have, you know, other health conditions, they've qualified for the antiviral. So they have been taking that, and so hopefully that's going to prevent them from needing to go to the hospital this time around, because the antiviral, I guess, supply is short, like a lot of other things have short supply right now, didn't even qualify to get it when I first knew that I was sick. So I had to kind of ride this thing out on my own. And yeah, so this is where we are once again. You know, I can't even tell you how sick I am of this absolute pandemic virus stuff. I mean, I have lost family members to this thing. I have lost friends to this virus. I have lost co-workers to this virus. And I'm really just pretty much tired of the whole thing. And I started getting sick, I guess, last Thursday night, so it was truly a week ago from where I am right now. And I had 3 days of about 104 fever. Pretty sick. Doing much better now, but I am still positive, COVID positive. So I will have to retest myself in another day or two to see if I can get out from my isolation. I do not, under any circumstances, want to give this to anyone. My husband and I have been extremely careful in the house. We have separated ourselves inside the house. When I come out of my sick room, I put my mask on, he puts his mask on, and we still keep a very good distance between us. Okay, we'll get through this. And, you know, in the meantime, a whole bunch of orchids need to be repotted. All right, so I think we're at a good stopping point. I'm going to rinse this off under the sink, try to get this last little bit of media out right here without breaking any of these glorious new roots. I'll clean this mess up and then I'll be back to choose a pot and finish. Okay, be right back. Alrighty, so back from the sink. I managed to not destroy any of the new root growth. We're going to do a very, very conservative trim here. There were a few other older canes that were really kind of buried in all the muck. I'm going to go ahead and just twist those off. They're not serving the plant any longer. The oldest part of the root system is directly underneath those older canes. And so it's safe to go ahead and cut that part away. But I am not going to just go crazy with the root trim here, mostly because it's just not worth the time to try to get every little dead root particle untangled from the rest of this. All right, so the other thing that happened while I was rinsing this under the sink, there were some very, very stubborn pieces of orchid bark that got stuck in between some of the root system. And I did gently work at it for a while, certainly trying not to break any of the new roots, but in general, my rule of thumb is that if I can't get it out, I just leave it because it's not worth breaking roots over. And then, even more okay than leaving behind old pieces of bark is leaving behind pieces of sponge rock that you can't get out, because that was also true. There was some sponge rock stuck up in here, and there still might be a little piece or two here and there, but it's not worth breaking all of those roots, especially trying to get the sponge rock out, because the sponge rock is inorganic anyway. It's not going to decompose and cause any kind of problem. All right. So while I was washing the root system under the sink, I hope I got my coughing attack out of the way. And hopefully that won't start up again while I'm trying to finish this video. Just kind of comes on you all of a sudden, either the coughing or the sneezing, one of the two. If for some reason it seems like that's about to strike again, I may pause the video and then come back. Right now, I'm in the kitchen, and I really haven't even been in the kitchen for, I don't know, 5 days. Mostly because this was the part of the house that my husband was trying to operate from so that he could at least fix us something to eat and slide it under the door into my sick room. So I didn't come out here much, but he has gone into work for a few hours, so I have kind of, in a way, snuck out to make this video while he's not here. Okay. A few other dead roots here and there. Again, more under the oldest canes. But again, you know, not something that we have to try to get every last one. Okay, so I've removed 2 of the oldest canes, and I think, you know, I'll leave these other 2 for now for this repotting. And the other thing that I decided while I was rinsing this is that I'm going to go ahead and upsize the pot, because if I don't do that, I'm going to be trying to cram this pretty decent root system into a pot of the same size, and there's just really no reason for that. All right, so quick spray. I don't always spray with 3% hydrogen peroxide, but when I am repotting from a grower's media into my media for the first time, I always give it a spray. And I will be putting a few cork bark chips into the bottom of the pot to get started. I'm also already noticing that I don't have enough media, so I will be having to take another break to go back out to the garage and get that. Okay, that's setting just a little bit high. Yeah, there would have been no way, I don't think, to get this in a pot of the same size. Yeah, that'll be fine though. Okay. And this larger pot has another benefit too. I was really struggling with the top-heavy nature of this orchid, and now I think, you know, that won't be quite as big of a problem with it tipping over. I had really hoped to be able to reuse this decorative planter, but this round pot is not going to fit in that now, and that's okay. I'll just find another. All right, short little break. I'm going to get a little bit more media to top this off, and then we'll have a look at the finished orchid repot. Be right back. Okay, so let's finish off the media on the top of this pot. And we kind of need to check where that new growth is. Make sure it hasn't gotten buried. I don't think it has. Okay, and we're going to give it a good tap. a little bit of sort of pressure just to secure it because it is so tall, but not too much. Yeah, it's pretty stable. All right, so let's have a look where the new growth is. It's going to be right there. See, there's like a little nub right there at the bottom of that cane that was grown previously. So we'll look around the edges of the pot. I don't see any unusually large air spaces. So this one is complete. Always remember to put the tag back. And I'll just need to find a new decorative container for it. And this one is growing in my bay window this year. I decided to put all of my Lotoria type dendrobiums in the bay window, and so that's where it's been. It's been doing fine. I'm going to give this a good watering and you know, just hopefully see more new roots through this clear pot in the coming weeks. All right, thanks so much for watching. If you learned something new or just enjoyed this video or any of my crazy life stories, please give it a thumbs up. The subscribe button will be coming up in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Thanks for watching, and talk to you next time.